So I sent out my newsletter last week. I send that out every Saturday slash or Sunday, and it's meant to be for Sunday. And it's Notes on Life, empowering you to be you. And for the past few weeks, I've been sharing um, my mother's words of wisdom, her the lessons, the principles that I took from her life lessons. That she was so brave to share those honestly with us. And the more and more I continue to think about our life lessons, I think about universal laws. I learned that much of what she told me was what I read, whether it was in the Bible or in Dr. Wayne Dyer's books, Louise Hay. There were some concepts that were familiar, that resonated with me as my mother's life lessons when I was little, when I was a little girl. And I had one of the things that I shared in my newsletter is that I would talk about achieving your purpose as far as with children or without children. And often, and I've heard this actually a few years ago, several years ago, that someone was going to a child's event. And one of the things that was commented was, this event is a distraction for me. And I thought about it, and I know it's something that is lingering thought in individual consciousness as well as global, is that our children can mess up. The children that we're caring for can mess up our lives. That the things that we want to do, we end up like we end up getting distracted by things that we have to do for them. And it could be something as simple as, caring for them, watching after them as another parent goes to an event. It could be going to their events, their extracurricular activities, baseball, softball, you name it, that we feel like, I could be doing something else. I mean, how many times have you felt that, and I can honestly say, I felt that I was like, man, I really want to do this, but then my child is asking me to do this. And often what I'll find myself, I'll either say, well, let me just finish this for 15 minutes and then we can do what you want to do. Or if I know that they want to do something, I'll say, hey, what would you like to do today? Because as I'm planning my day, I want to plan in such a way that not only am I fruitful, but I'm also too bonding with my children. The spirits that I am here to guide, to love, to nourish, to help them see their reason for being here, and to express their divine gifts and talents. That I believe as a parent, we not only, yes, supposed to fulfill our purpose, and our purpose, part of our purpose is being that parent, is being able to, and I don't want to say sacrifice, but being able to discern the right thing to do. Because we will, we don't get this childhood back. We don't get, our children don't get to stay for 5 years, until we get our business up and running. One of the things that when my children were going to school and were experiencing a lot of bullying behavior, and just a lot of, to me, shocking behavior at their school, I knew early on, I said, my children should not have to suffer as I pursue my purpose in life. And when I think about that, even now, my children are my purpose in my life. Our children are there. They're here to be reminders, I believe, of joy, curiosity, inner peace, focus, to help us remember who we are, because they're so close to this divine spirit. They haven't had all this stuff to distract them from what they're here to do. And so I believe they're here to remind us of that. And our teachers come in all shapes and sizes and colors and ages, that often our kids can help to keep us accountable, to help us to remember those words that we've said to them, those principles, and Mom, I thought you said that we shouldn't allow, we should be um, kind, or not allow our emotions and feelings to get the best of us. And didn't you just yell? And, so it's like they are the ones to hold us accountable. They're no longer, the children should be seen and not heard. And that's the problem that we're dealing with today, where children are lacking their voice. My son had just chatted with someone on his tablet, and how this kid doesn't like his school, and feels like, his school is leaving him with feelings of fear, frustration, um, and just really feeling like he wants to go to a different school, but hasn't had really that conversation with his parents. As what he, and my son, even in school, just things that would happen to children that they don't even tell their parents about. And so it's no longer, children need to be heard. you know that there's so much going on. There's so much bullying type behavior, abuse, neglect. There's so many thoughts that circulate, energy that circulate in the world, that we it's important as parents that we know what is going on in our child's mind. What do they need help with discerning the right thing to do? How can I help them to go inside and make the best decision? Because our children are not going to be with us, everywhere. We're not going to be with them wherever they go. They're not going to be with us side by side. That, okay, this is the choice you should make. We're wanting to remind them of who they are, and that's part of our purpose. In our purpose lies the gift of parenting, or being a caregiver of a child. And the more and more we work together, the more and more we see that, the more and more we work together, the more positive, I think, effect that we can have on the world. Because this journey that we take is of spiritual awakening. And what better yet to be working with a child that is closer to the divine, or maybe closer to the divine, right? I think we can still have that as adults, but sometimes we get off path because we have had so much that we've experienced, that we've taken it personally, that we we get off the path. It's not true. We remember stuff as a child. We remember, going through life this way, but somehow we've lost our way, and our children can help reel us back in, if you will. And so to say that our children are a distraction is to basically void them out of our lives. You can easily say, you're busy, I'm busy, and I don't have time for that. Or and how does that make that child feel? We have too many children that have self-esteem issues. We have too many mental health diagnoses. And often the root of our problems are not feeling worthy. Fear that our life, when you think about fear that our lives have no meaning and no purpose. Because if my parent doesn't pay attention to me, then who will? If my parent is treating me this way, then this must be the way. I must, not speak, whatever comes to mind. I don't have that support, that foundation to help guide me along the way. And then we wonder how come people are lost. We wonder about, and you've seen it, and it's never to judge, but I thought as a child that I traded life mistakes. Instead of saying mistakes, I said I want life lessons. I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn from myself, and I'm going to learn from others. And when we see that, it can happen. And we were actually looking at Ric Flair's story. And one of the things he said is that he wished he would have been more of a father than his son's best friend. If you don't know his story, that he lost, his son. And we can be so involved in our careers, and you've seen it, that you know, our children struggle. They don't know who they are, or they lack the foundation to weather life's storms. And it's sad, when you think about that, it's very sad, because I know one of the things I said when my son was going through this episode at the last public school is I told my husband, I don't want my son will not be a statistic. And I was really encouraging him to speak his voice. No matter how busy I was, no matter how much I wanted to do something else to write, or have that time to write, I knew that I cannot be successful unless my children are successful. I cannot do the work I am here to do if they are struggling with their lives and struggling to make sense of the world. There are so many people, when you think about the stories that you've heard of stars and their children, dying or succumbing to drugs and alcohol, and often what you'll hear them say is that I wasn't there for my child like I should have been. We get so caught up on our purpose being this one thing, and often it's not to blame the parent, because that drive came from something else, came from a portion of their story where they may have not felt good enough. They may have not been known and want to be known famous. They may have grown poor and said, they needed to have the money so they couldn't feel that way again, not being able to have something, not being able to buy stuff. I know how that is. I know that, and I get that, and I feel that pull of, wanting to do something great in the world. And here is my child that needs me, someone who chose me to be his parent. Someone, my daughter, chose me to be her parent, that knew they would be able to get what they need. This is who I choose because this is what I'm going for, and this is who I choose to help me to get that way. Knowing the struggles that I had, knowing the experiences that I had. And so when you think on that deeper level, that you were chosen, I believe that we all come for we have a curriculum here on earth. We all have experiences that we are to go through. And I believe all of that is to help remind us of the divine spirit that we are, to reflect the truth. It's not to make us bitter. It's not evil that's being, to us. Everybody has a right to decide. They have free will. And we have free will to choose how we see our experiences, and to choose to see it in a healthy perspective. Because if all this that is happening in my life, my thoughts affect that, my words affect that, my beliefs affect that, then why not choose? I said a few years ago, why not choose the positive instead of the negative? Why not choose the most helpful instead of the most harmful? Why not choose the most awakening than the one that leads to unconsciousness? There was a lady at my son's school back in Oregon, and she said, yeah, my son reads, but I tell him to read in silence. And I'm thinking to myself, there's so much stuff. I've heard of other people saying that they didn't realize what book they had from the school until they literally had to read it and realize that it was inappropriate. The words were inappropriate, sexual language, etc. And so, how do we know what is going into our child's mind if we don't hear them read? How do we know what thoughts they're contemplating, including suicide, including homicide, including bullying type behavior? How do we know if we're not getting them to express themselves? How do we know what our child needs to strengthen? Children need to strengthen if we don't see what they're doing. Yesterday I'm behind more than I think I'm behind, but nature would say, what's the rush? I think I'm behind. And so I took my laptop in hopes to go through one of my scripts that I'm writing to finish it off. And I just couldn't sit there and do that while my children were swimming. They're taking swimming classes. And I literally had to just say, no, I need to be present for this event right now. And to believe that, what I used to believe is that the time to do these other activities will avail itself for me. And so, parenting is a huge responsibility and can come with mixed emotions and feelings if we don't set our role, part of our purpose, in a healthy perspective. This life is not just about me and me doing the work I'm doing, but it's about a cooperation. It's about teamwork. It's about becoming and allowing my children to do the same thing. It's about listening to their concerns, their cares, putting them in a right environment, one that is safe and healthy, one that brings out the best in them instead of the worst. Because I'm like, my children have to come, I have to hear them. I have to, hear depressive thoughts. I have to hear, what is life really about, mom? I have to hear that. And I can only imagine what it must be like when they get older, 16 and 20 and 25. And so I feel like, if there's anything I can do as a parent to help them become more of themselves, then that is a priority. Yes, I need to provide for them, but getting them mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically in the best health possible so they can live their best life, their life, their lives is of utmost importance to me. And so I don't think there's any way that we can live our purpose without our children, without that child that you are caring for. Because I know for a fact, I believe wholeheartedly that that child is here to help you fulfill your divine purpose. This is Tamika Chambers with Create a Generational Love Cycle. I hope I've given you something to think about. Um, and I speak from my heart, and I speak from knowing about those struggles, and I speak about knowing that our children are more than just a body. They're more than just a vessel. They're a divine being, a spiritual being, here to do the same thing that we're here to do, which is to align with that spirit within them, to to um, to express the truth. Check out you can also sign up. I'll put my link here for Notes on Life, Empowering You to Be You. It's a weekly messages that I send out, usually on Sunday. And I've been sharing my mother's words of wisdom, the the principles that I retrieved from her life lessons, and just sayings that she had, and have really been helpful in helping me to avoid a lot of potholes in life, with the environments that I've been around, to really help me, to strengthen me mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, to see my experiences for more than what they are, and to seek out this infinite intelligence, this great spiritual power that designed us all, that is in us right now, each and every one of us, helping us to do the work that we're here to do, helping us to go along this earthly journey. They're seeking a relationship with us. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care of yourself. As always, make this lifetime great.